is like a book. There's a beginning, there's an end. We don't know how long it's going to be from beginning to end, and everything in between is nothing but chapters. Us who are really into cars and whatnot, we could consider our cars to be a chapter within that book that could be a book all on its own. It has kind of the same life cycle, but it's a chapter or multiple chapters in our lives. And my 2018 Dodge Challenger RT Shaker, I've had it for 3.5 years, put 29,500 miles on it, and I have loved every mile I've put on that car. But I feel like a chapter with that car has come to an end, and it is now time to go to another chapter. So with that being said, I no longer have the car. I traded it in. I got a really good trade-in value for it. Trade-in values are high right now due to shortages of them being able to get new cars. So if they don't have new cars, they need to sell used cars. So they're paying out the katukas for, to get people to trade in their used cars. And I did buy a new vehicle, and that's going to be in my next video. I'm not going to announce what it is yet, but I did pick up a new vehicle. As of filming this last night, I've had it less than 24 hours. It's something I've been wanting, and I feel like that is my next chapter. I'm moving into the next chapter, hence the whole book reference. So that's my next chapter I'm going into, and it's with another vehicle. I've absolutely loved the Dodge Challenger. The Hemi sounds great. Yeah, it's not the 392 or a Hellcat or a Demon, but you know what? That 5.7 was plenty for what I was looking for, and it did everything I asked it to and then some. So I guess you could say this is kind of a review of my last 3.5 years with that car. One of the best things I loved about it is the 6-speed standard shift transmission, albeit a little bit sloppy. Not sloppy like beyond not usable sloppy by any means, but there was room for improvement. But I just never got around to getting a like a Barton shifter or anything like that to help tighten it up. So there are things out there you can do to fix that, but that's just a very small, minute thing I didn't like. The other thing I didn't like is the windows. They didn't have auto up, they only had an auto down, which I thought was kind of weird. With technology today, it'd be very easy to do it. You can actually feel the click in the window switch to do the auto up, but it just doesn't do it. So that's one second thing I didn't like about the car. And again, very minor things. There's a video that I did on things I didn't like about it, and it still holds true for pretty much to this point. Well, like I said, I've enjoyed every single mile I put on that car. One of the reasons I bought it was because of the styling of the Challenger, the way Dodge nailed the nostalgia factor of that, being, echoing back to the early 70 Challengers. They really were able to emphasize more of a progression of what the modern day Challenger would look like without like going way away from the original design. The similarities between the two in the styling, and it really held true, and that was like the number one thing that attracted me to it. Being a Mopar person, I've always liked Mopars growing up. That was another thing that attracted me to it. Space, that was a huge thing for me. Like I said in one of my very earlier videos on the Challenger, it was very important to me that I had enough space, not only in the cabin, but in the trunk of the car. On the road trips we've taken, we've had plenty of space in the trunk to bring along all of our luggage. Myself, my wife, and my daughter whenever we go anywhere. We've never had to leave anything like behind that we planned on taking just because it didn't fit. We always had enough room. Obviously, we planned accordingly. It's not like we're bringing a Chevy Tahoe, with gobs of space in it. We knew we were taking a car, so you kind of plan accordingly. But I've always been able to get my suitcase, my wife's suitcase, my daughter's suitcase, and whatever bags and things we're bringing with us. If we bring the dog, I've always been able to, bring some of his toys and his food and stuff like that. Never had to leave any behind. So that was great. The comfort, not necessarily for me, even though the comfort for myself as a driver was good. Everything was set up very like kind of like a cockpit, kind of turned towards you with that center console and stuff like that. So it's not like a Supra where like the earlier Mark IV Supras where they're like turned big time, but it's slight turn, so it kind of gives you that cockpity type feel behind it. And the back seat is what really sold me on the Challenger over the Mustang and the Camaros. having a daughter that needed to ride in the back seat, it was very important to me that she was going to be comfortable back there, and the Challenger was the obvious choice in that aspect. Touching on the sound, I did do a muffler delete, mid-muffler delete, and I put the MFR1 exhaust valve kit into it to keep the valves open. Now, I did it because on my particular car, the 2018, I believe the 2017s, get mixed information about 2019s, but I think there's like a 2, maybe 3, don't quote me, but definitely mine. If you disconnected the valves, they would stay open, but you would end up with a check engine light, and that's what the MFR1 did, is it got rid of that, so you didn't have to worry about the valves being open and closed or getting a check engine light. So this sounded good. I love the sound of it, especially getting on it. It sounded really good. I've always gotten compliments on how it sounded and stuff like that, so that was something I really enjoyed. New car's quiet compared to the Challenger because there's no exhaust work or anything done, but I got plans, so that's another video. But all in all, the car's been very reliable. In the 3.5 years I owned it, like I said, I put 29,500 miles on it. The only thing I did was oil changes and a set of tires, and when I did the tires, I put the aftermarket wheels on as well, because may as well, needed tires. I wanted aftermarket wheels anyways. Plus, I thought they looked better, even though some people didn't, but it's my car, so I did what I wanted. One guy even told me I needed to sell them. But that's your opinion, and you're entitled to that. So I ended up trading the car into a dealership. Oh, I did the suspension too. That was shortly after I bought the car. I put the Eibach lowering springs into it just to bring it down a little bit. It was like an inch and a half, which closed the gap in the wheel well. Didn't really compromise that much on the ride quality. It was still pretty comfortable, a little bit harsh than factory, but it looked cool. That's all that mattered, I guess. But it functioned well, never had a problem with it. I never had the car aligned. I definitely recommend having your car aligned if you lower it. There was slight uneven wear with the tires, which you could tell could have been corrected with an alignment, but the car went straight down the road and everything else, and like I said, I only went through one set of tires in almost 30,000 miles, so whatever. It's up to you though, but I do recommend it. The next chapter was the obvious choice of something that I have been wanting for a while now, and I'm in a position to do that, especially with being able to get as much money as I was for a trade-in. Traded in at a dealership, and they didn't really question too much into any of the modifications I did. They have it on their website less than 24 hours later for $34,000 now, so you can just imagine how much I got for it. I'm also going to do a video on my journey of buying this vehicle and some of the encounters with dealerships I had, because it was kind of drawn out. This is I've basically been working deals for the last month and a half with various dealerships, and it has just been an awful experience with these dealerships. I'm going to go into detail about that whole experience after I do the reveal video on my new vehicle, so stay tuned for that. So if you're looking for a Challenger, at the end of the day, I would say go for it. Follow your dreams. It's what you want. Do it. Don't let anybody hold you back. Oh, you don't need a muscle car. Oh, you got a family. It's too small. You know what? If you got a child and you need to be able to put them in a car, the Challenger is the best option, I think. The Mustang and the Camaro, they're great cars. Don't get me wrong. I don't own them, so I cannot tell you about them. I can just tell you about the Challenger. Or there's the Charger if you want to go with the Charger, but if you want a standard transmission, you got to go with the Challenger. So, but I love the car. It's saddened me to get rid of it. I'm not going to lie. But I'm not at a point in my life where I can just keep everything I've ever bought. I have to make decisions. And in order to go, like I said, to that next chapter, the decision I had to make was I had to get rid of my Challenger. And part of that was because, you know, it was kind of a no-brainer with how much money they were giving me for a trade-in value based upon what I was owed. Some tried to rip me off, don't get me wrong. Some of the dealers out there were trying to rip me off, and what I ended up getting was way beyond what I had expected. and I didn't know where else I was going to go with that. There was, you know, I could have went with performance modifications and everything else, but I don't know. I just kind of like reached a point with the Challenger. I had done some modifications and some upgrade little the knick-knacky things like the L wire on the dash and stuff like that, and I just enjoyed it for what it was, and I didn't want to start adding gobs of power to it and just not have a drivable car that I could use daily, because that's what I need. Is I need a daily car. So it worked great for that, and I'm, like I said, sad, but I'm not fully regretting that I got rid of it and I've got something else, because like I said, I got something I've been wanting. I hope you guys continue to watch, and I have plans for the new vehicle. I've actually already put one accessory on it, because I had an accessory sitting here because I was supposed to have one already, and like I said, there's going to be stories about that whole ordeal. Um, so some things fell through, and then this came along, and I guess it was all meant to be, because the deal I got on this was spot on. I got exactly what I wanted for less than all the other deals that I had kind of worked that had fallen through. So that's a quick little update, kind of reviewish, I guess you could say, of the Challenger and where we're going. Stay tuned, and appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the videos that will be coming up on the new vehicle. And because I've been busy with dealing with all these dealerships trying to buy said vehicle, I haven't had a chance to edit some videos of the older cars that are being worked on by the old man over at Winding Road Classics. So I'm going to be able to get back into that now. So I'm going to go back to those, and you'll start seeing those again. I think it's been like almost 2 weeks since my last video, so I apologize. But I've been busy. Besides working, full-time job, this whole trying to buy a vehicle during this chip shortage and end of pandemic deal, it's a little to be desired for. It's been an experience, I'll tell you that. Experience I had never had before trying to buy a vehicle. But stay tuned. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you next time.